So, as a quick reminder, Power Rangers Hyperforce is a tabletop RPG stream. Think Dungeons & Dragons being played on Twitch, like Dungeons & Dragons actually is. It stars people rolling dice and playing games, doing things that are fun today. Hoo 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 hoo. All right. Surprise! Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to the very first Power Rangers Hyperforce session review. I did a video recently announcing the Power Rangers Hyperforce RPG, and it's kind of hard to believe we're here already. I wasn't sure that I was going to actually review these, but I mean, come on, after acknowledging how excited I was about it, who was I kidding, right? I'm not going to commit to releasing these videos every single week. I am going to review all 25 sessions of Hyperforce, but if there's ever a point where I need to delay one of my videos, this is going to be the first video I delay. So as a quick reminder, Power Rangers Hyperforce is a tabletop RPG being streamed on Twitch. It's like Dungeons & Dragons. It stars Peter Sudarso as Marvin, Andre Meadows as Eddie, Paul Schreier as Jack, Megan Camarena as Chloe, and Christina V as Vesper. This first episode had the guest star Erin Cahill reprising her role of Jen Scott's the Pink Time Force Ranger. Now, since these are live RPG sessions where anything can happen, they don't get what you would think of as episode titles. At least not that I know of. When they get posted to YouTube, they might, but that happens a week after airing live, and I don't want to wait that long to do my reviews of them. So I'm actually going to go ahead and name each session myself, give it an episode title. If they do end up giving them titles when they're posted to YouTube, I'll just go ahead and acknowledge that in the next session's video. With all of that said, let's take a look at the first session of Hyperforce, The Alliance Attacks. In the year 3016, with all criminals, including Rancic, either safely apprehended or rehabilitated, utopian peace reigns supreme. This is, of course, still thanks to the efforts of the Time Force Police, who are constantly bringing in new recruits. Cadets spend 1 year in the classroom learning, and then doing 1 year of field duty, shadowing Time Force officers. We open to a history lecture being held by history professor Jen Scott. Eddie is fascinated by Jen and her history as a ranger, especially her battle against Rancic, but Vesper is bored by all of this, even speaking out in the middle of class and saying that the past doesn't matter. They need to be focused on the present and especially protecting the future. Marvin tells her that they need to focus on the lesson. Meanwhile, outside, a Time Force beat cop named Jack paces around. Jen has asked him to speak to the class about being a Time Force officer, but he's not comfortable talking to kids. But then he notices some movement between two buildings. Quietly investigating, he sees a box marked evidence pushed out of a window, and then a girl jumps down after it. He apprehends her and finds out that she's a Time Force cadet on scholarship, no less. The girl, Chloe, insists that the evidence isn't important to any particular case and is just material that's going to waste. But Jack insists on taking her to talk to the dean. Back in class, Vesper still isn't paying attention, and now she's fiddling with some kind of strange device. Jen notices this and asks to see it, but Vesper refuses. Jen tries to grab at it to get it away from her, and the device accidentally activates. It places a holographic projection of the room over the room itself, duplicating it. It starts from that moment, but then moves forward, showing a white laser lancing through the wall, breaking it apart, and killing all the students. Vesper admits that her device is a prototype future scanner, which is capable of displaying the future about 15 to 20 seconds ahead. Jen gets the students out of the classroom and morphs into the Pink Time Force Ranger, as indeed the white laser blasts through the wall and chaos begins to erupt. Jen sees the dean of the academy, a Mr. Higgs, as well as another professor, approaching. She asks him what's going on, but he simply asks her to join the Alliance, saying they're going to bring back evil. Evil is their goal. Their goal is evil. Jen refuses the offer, and the students incapacitate the dean, with Jack and Chloe helping out. Jack recognizes Marvin, and the implication is that Marvin was already a Time Force officer, but did something that got him booted back to the academy. They try to interrogate the dean, but he's still stunned at first. When they do finally bring him around, he doesn't remember any of this. They have another student, Abigail, take him to the medical bay. The group decides to make their way to the dean's office to try to find more evidence of what's going on, but they keep getting waylaid by Time Force agents that are working for this alliance. They manage to start picking some weapons off of them and even manage to capture another agent. They're able to get a little bit of info out of this agent, with Eddie pretending to be an alliance agent trying to convince his friend Marvin to join up. But all this agent reveals is that the Alliance is made up of people who are tired of the utopia Time Force has created. After observing the agents for a little while, Jen realizes that they're not really interested in the cadets at all. They're after her, as well as the other Time Force Rangers, and she's been unable to contact Trip, Lucas, or Katie. Because of this, she decides to take off for the hangar to get a time ship ready to escape in, half to just get everybody to safety, and half to draw the agents away from the cadets. The rest of the group disguises themselves holographically as Time Force Pink in order to confuse the agents before winning that battle and following after her. On the way, they manage to finally find the dean's office and use his computer to get a map that points them to the hangar. But that information is quickly erased, replaced with text that says, "We are the Alliance. We cannot be defeated. Our goal is evil. Evil is our goal." After fooling another Alliance member who asks them to go to the hangar to help someone, they ask how many people are in this little alliance. Her response is, "Our numbers are infinite, for time is infinite." The group finally reaches the hangar and sees a huge, teeming mass of Time Force agents, all working for the Alliance. However, the agents are very relaxed and happy and pleased to see cadets joining their forces, so they give the cadets a number of their weapons. The group finally turns around to see what the agents are so happy to be watching, and they see a dark, monstrous figure fighting Time Force Pink. Having each collected a Vortex weapon, the cadets form the Vortex Blaster and fire 2 shots, one clearing away the rogue agents and the other knocking the monster back. However, it manages to recover, grab Jen, and throw her down, demorphing and injuring her. 18 points of damage if that's your thing. The monster makes for the time ship and gets inside. Marv tries desperately shooting at the monster, but misses, and it escapes into time. Jen is alright and tells the team that they have to follow the monster into time. She has to stay in 3016, take control of the academy, and find out what's going on. They, as a new team, must go into time, get the monster, and bring him back. She hands Jack a black case marked Prototype and points them towards a new ship, looking much like the time ship, but apparently souped up. She says there's an android inside that will explain everything that's going on, but as they leave, she says they are now Rangers. The Rangers explore the inside of the time ship as it takes off. However, the box Jen gave them is locked and will not open. They do manage to find and activate the android Jen mentioned, and the android has a saucer-shaped head. Yes, this is Alpha, Alpha 55. Alpha's a little confused about what's going on, but does say that Jen's instructions were to help this new group of officers on their mission. When the cadets tell Alpha that a monster has escaped in a time ship, Alpha scans the temporal field and detects a jump. The destination year? 1994. The place? Angel Grove, California. Alpha also has the holographic key that opens the case. Jack looks inside and says not to be alarmed, but there are morphers in here. Alpha confirms that these are their morphers, and they are now Power Rangers. So let's just touch on some technical aspects and character stuff. That's not going to be a part of every single video, just this first one and maybe a couple of others. We'll start with Jen, and I will say that Jen has not changed all that much. Still fierce, still honorable, still determined. The main new characteristic she displayed here was sort of a mother hen feeling towards these cadets that were suddenly in her care. Her main goal was to keep them safe, even if that meant leading bad guys away to chase her instead. Marvin seems very dedicated and focused, but also has a tendency to rush into action without thinking things through. And as I mentioned, there's a bit of interesting backstory hinted at with Jack. Seems like Marvin was an officer in the Time Force once before, and did something that got him booted back to the Academy. Jack specifically mentions being glad that Marvin was relearning the lessons of the Time Force. On the surface, Jack is a dedicated officer who does things by the book and just tries to do his job. However, his heart is in the right place and he will bend the rules if the situation calls for it. He seems to be bonding with the thief he caught, Chloe. He covers for her right after the attack, since she did help take down the Dean, and when Chloe's sticky fingers land the team a few more weapons, even though he grumbles about it technically being theft, he's happy to look the other way. We didn't really get a lot on Chloe herself in this session. She just didn't really stand out. She's clearly a thief with a heart of gold, and seemed all too eager to pick the pockets of their fallen enemies. She admires Jen in a girl power sort of way, and is all too happy to team up with Vesper for the same reason. She seems very sweet and caring and intelligent. We just didn't get a lot on her this time. Vesper we saw more of, but she's kind of hard to pin down. She started out the episode bratty and even impetuous, but when the time hit the pan, so to speak, she became very apologetic for her previous attitude. Her running gag throughout this episode was using her womanly persuasion, which manifested as an open hand slap to the face. What did the five fingers say to the face? I'm Vesper, bitch! And that leads us to Eddie. Eddie is the nerd of the team. What are the odds? But more specifically, a history nerd, which should prove very useful to a team of time travelers. This is why he was so fascinated with Jen, her battle with Ransik, etc., etc. Eddie is awkward but willing to fight, using his long, lanky frame to trip up their enemies. There seems to be something of a reluctant partnership forming between Eddie and Marv, not necessarily overcoming any sort of enmity, just resulting from a lack of other options. And she's not a character, but she is many characters. Let's talk about Malika Lim, the Game Master. Malika tells the game's story and gives voice to any characters that are not represented by the players. She did a fantastic job in that, overcoming what were clearly some early nerves to settle in and give a great performance. It also needs to be said that Malika is a very generous and nice game master. She allowed more than a number of rerolls just out of the kindness of her heart, and awarded energy, which I'll talk about in a moment, pretty generously. Now for some technical stuff. This game uses a 2d6, two six-sided die system. When the Rangers want to do something significant, search a room, fight someone, etc., they roll either 1 or 2 dice depending on the situation. Their roll versus Malika's roll determines whether they succeed or fail, and the story branches off from there. When the Rangers manage to find items, either by searching a room or by looting an enemy that they've defeated, they draw a card from a deck in front of them. This is likely to restrict the items to things you would find in the Time Force universe: vortex weapons, chrono sabers, etc. I also mentioned the awarding of energy. The Game Master can award energy to the characters at any time, and Malika would usually do it when the players impressed her in some way. I also believe that the players get energy when they roll a 6 on one of their die, which is represented by a lightning bolt, but I'm not 100% on that. I didn't get clarity on that. Energy can be used to fire strong weapons, such as the Vortex Blaster. However, energy also ties into another aspect of all this: the home game. Located below the Twitch stream on Hyper RPG anytime, you can actually even go and check this right now, is a small game widget. Associating it with your Twitch ID allows you to select a Power Ranger. The selection is somewhat limited right now. I ended up going with SPD Yellow. You then select character traits for your Ranger: personality, flaw, ideal, and fear. Your Ranger is then assigned health, armor, energy, and experience, and you can select missions to send the Ranger on. A random dice roll determines your success, and for succeeding, you get items as well as energy. You will then be able to send that energy to the Hyperforce Rangers in order to help them with their mission. Now, I will say they haven't quite worked all the bugs out of this yet. They're working very hard at it. It launched just as the game did, so you may not be able to get energy just yet, but it's something they're working on, and I'm betting that it'll be fully operational by the time of the next stream. There is also a paid aspect, sort of a microtransaction system, and I have to admit that I hadn't really thought about how Hyper RPG would benefit from this financially. Do not get me wrong, I'm not complaining about that in the slightest. It is a smart business move, and as long as Hyperforce is good, and spoilers, so far I think it is, I have absolutely no problem with them doing business aspects that help them operate. Besides, it's not like you have to pay for anything. The Twitch stream is free, the game widget is free, and even if you can't watch live, if you wait a week, it'll air on YouTube for free. It's just a little something extra that you can do. Besides subscribing to the channel, which has each of its own benefits, and I'm talking about a paid subscription, not like a YouTube subscription, you are able to tip a Twitch channel, and doing so in this case will allow you to get special boosts that you can send to the Rangers to help them out. Super is +2 to attack, Mega is +2 to damage, and Ultra is +1d6 roll to each. Considering how many people are watching and supporting this, these Rangers are going to have a lot of help. I don't think I'm going to use an incredibly formal scoring system for this with graphics and everything. It's kind of hard to assign direct pros and cons to something this free form. I will say that I really like the characters, and I really enjoyed how this felt a lot more mature than your ordinary Power Rangers, and especially what we've been getting lately, talking to you, Adventures of Redbot. However, I will say that this was a 3-hour stream and we only saw one Ranger morph, and that Ranger wasn't even part of the core team. Overall, I give the first session of Hyperforce a solid 4 out of 5. Well, I hope you enjoyed this first Power Rangers Hyperforce session review. Thank you folks so much as always for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking the like button right down below. In the comments below, what did you think of Hyperforce? Did you watch the entire stream? Have you been reading recaps, watching this recap? Let me know down below. Let me know what you thought of my review. And by the way, if you are a thumper, a Hyper RPG fan, make sure to say hello. I've actually found it really cool seeing the Hyper RPG thumpers that have come and left very positive, very supportive comments down in my videos, so appreciate you folks for that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to see all my videos, and make sure to set up your notifications, ring that bell, so you get notified of whenever I post videos, such as these brand new Power Rangers Hyperforce session reviews. And if you'd like to toss a little financial support to my channel, head to digitaltipjar.com/orangerangervid, and I'd appreciate whatever you can do. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you, and go Hyperforce! Welcome to the very first Power Rangers Hyperforce session review. Yeah. I wasn't sure that I was going to review these, but alright, come on. And welcome to the very first Power Rangers Hyperforce session review. I don't know this take, apparently. They don't really get episode titles, so at least not that I know of. At least not that I know of. The sessions are posted to YouTube, but that happens a week later. Crud. Now, since these are live RPG sessions where anything can happen, they don't really get what you would... I am on a roll today. Now, since these are live RPG sessions, and she asks them to go to the hangar to help, but they pretend to, that's not, none of that is in there anyway, but she gives them all a black case. The Rangers explore the inside of the ship Why do I feel like I just did that take? They do manage to find and activate the android, who has a... I don't even know what take this is anymore, so we're just gonna do it again. Alpha's a little confused as it first activates, but says that Jen did tell... I see the pronouns are messing me up. They do manage to find and activate the android, who has a farts! Alpha's a little confused as it first when the cadets tell Alpha that a monster has escaped and stolen a time ship and jumped through time, Alpha scans... I'm just gonna do that again. Her main goal was to keep them safe, even if... And when her sticky fingers And when Chloe's sticky fingers lean the farts and the farts and the farts and the purple farts. Malika tells the game's story and gives voice to any characters that are not presented by the actors themselves. Now for some technical stuff. The game uses a 2d6, 2 six-sided dice, system. Yep. Energy can be used to fire strong weapons such as the Vortex Blaster. Super adds 2 to attack, Mega adds 2 to damage, and Ultra adds 1d6 roll to each. Besides, it's not like paying for anything is required. The Twitch stream airs for free, the widget below the